Many people say that they want to write a book, yet 9 out of every 10 people who start writing a book never finish it, leaving one of their biggest dreams unfulfilled. So, what is it about the 1 in 10 people who do finish writing their book? What do they have, and what drives them to complete their books, their plays, and their songs? Welcome to the Editor's Desk, where we explore their writing experiences, their motivations, and their struggles. And now, here are your hosts, author, writing coach, and self-publishing guide, Lynn Everard, and author, Louise Gomez. It's Thursday at 5:30 p.m. here in South Florida, and you're watching the Editor's Desk. My name is Lynn Everard.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Louise Gomez, and we're excited today to talk about some different things about what authors go through and experiences, right?
Absolutely. We were just talking about the hero's journey.
Yes.
And it's really, the hero's journey is what we all go through. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I remember the 3 parts of it like you thought
That's
I would.
okay.
But basically it is there's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have some kind of crisis or something where we go into the journey, then we learn some things, and then we kind of come out the other end as a changed person.
Right.
And when you're writing a book, that is certainly something that happens to you because it really is a process, and it's not just a mental process, but an emotional process.
Oh, yeah. It will challenge anyone, I would imagine, who goes on that journey, because it's like, for me, it was like, who am I up against? I'm up against the stories in my head. I'm like, can I do this? Can I create this? Can I write this? Can I finish this? Right? So sometimes
Right.
that could be the hardest battle, is it's just battling our stories in our own mind, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, we've done the show for, I think this is our 9th month.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we're about to deliver.
About to deliver.
And one of the things we've never done is we've never actually had a show where we invited you to call in and ask us questions, offer comments. You know, maybe you're really curious about the writing journey and you'd like to know more. Maybe you have some other things you'd like to share. And this is a day for doing that. So our number is 888-994-4995, Studio A. And we invite you to call in, and if you got a question that has even remotely about writing and reading, we invite you to call us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know, Lynn, I think what worked for me, if I can give you my feedback, I think what worked best for me was we had consistency. It was like every week we were determined we were going to meet and discuss the story. So even if I didn't write that week, I knew that consistency held me accountable, right? So I feel like having something that's going to hold us accountable, I mean, we did that journey together. You held me accountable. I did, to a certain degree, hold myself accountable as well. But I feel like a routine, and whatever works, everyone has a different routine. Some people, as we know, they say, I'm going to write for 2 hours every single morning, whether they feel it or not, right? They just set out that block of time. So everyone has a different journey. Everyone has a different, way of going about it. And we're not saying one way is right or wrong or better or worse. It's so unique, right? I believe it's so
really
unique
is.
to the individual.
Yes, because I believe the majority of books are written by one person.
Yeah.
Right, one person at a time. Mm-hmm. And so they've got to hold themselves accountable. They've got to keep themselves going. Maybe they have a coach that they work with that helps them. And so, but they're able to stay really focused because it's just them.
Yeah.
So the amount of, they may have a bit of confusion, but the amount of time, we'll say, that they spend not being productive isn't necessarily all that much. And when you write a book with another person,
Right.
it's a whole nother animal, because now you're dealing with two people's mental state, emotional state,
Right.
availability, life issues, all those kinds of things. And yet, to be able to stay consistent and to stay on the path is really, really important. And so, frankly, I don't know if everybody could do this. And maybe it's because of the nature of our story
Right.
that we were able to actually do this, because as we wrote our book, we kept getting, deeper into the connection that we already had
Yeah.
in terms of the past life.
What worked for you? Because for me, I worked the routine of having meeting every single week. That worked for me. What is there something that showed up for you that seemed to work well?
Yeah,
or-
what worked for me was the fact that this was a really cool experience,
Okay.
right? That, regardless of what people think, we had a past life that we wrote about,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so all the things having to do with, well, how did we discover it and all of that. So that was part of what kept me going, was the excitement that I felt about sharing our story with the world. But, as you get closer to the end of the book, as you get closer to getting to the point of publishing it,
Right.
right, then there's all kinds of other mental and emotional things that show up,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where you can't edit it enough, right?
Right,
You you want to go through it 50 million times.
Right. Right.
But really, after about the third time through, I was explaining this to someone today. If you watch cross-country skiing, even in the Olympics, you'll notice that the skiers, for the most part, stay in the path of the other skiers ahead of them.
Okay.
Right? It's faster to stay in that groove that's already been created. But unfortunately, that's how our eyes operate as well. So
Right.
if you've looked at something a lot of times, you're going to miss.
True. I
right?
see your
You're
point.
going to miss.
You
the
get lost
things-
in the
yes.
blur, right? I've seen it 10,000 times. Oh my God. I know what you're
Right,
saying.
and if you've missed it that many times, I can guarantee you'll miss it next time,
Yeah,
because you don't even see it.
absolutely. I totally agree.
So, if you're a reader, a writer, someone who'd like to be an author, or you just have questions about books, or you're wondering, is this something you could do? Is this something a friend could do? We invite you to call us at 888-994-4995. It's Studio A. And
I think
we
we
would
have a
love to
question.
answer your questions.
We have a question.
I got a question. We have so many students graduating
Okay.
in the next 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
There's a ton, and Lynn, FAU, all of them.
Right.
And there's a whole handful of journalists that are looking for jobs in the journalistic field, things of writing books and things of that nature. And I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about this, and there was a meeting going on in the back, that some of these journalists I need to come in and write grants. So it's a new perspective on something. A lot of them are like shocked.
I can
They
hear.
never thought in a million
Right.
years that they would use their ability to write grants. So it led me to a question. People that want to do books,
Yeah.
sometimes not your personal, maybe it's a how-to book. Maybe it's about a story that occurred to somebody else. It doesn't necessarily have to be
Right.
something of their heart. It could be something like past lives,
Sure.
things of that nature, visions, spirituality. So I wanted to get your input on, there's a bunch of kids graduating around you today.
Yeah.
Maybe 80% of the producers you see in here are
Wow.
graduating. What advice would you give somebody who's scared to death about being a journalist and looking uphill at writing for a magazine because it's just really hard right now?
Well, go ahead, Lynn. You go, and then I'll piggyback. I have
Okay.
a couple of things.
So writing is something that you have in your blood or you don't. One of my absolute favorite stories is about Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer published 41 books, wrote and published 41 books. But Wayne Dyer's first opportunity to get in front, his agent had gotten him in front of a publisher. It was about 5:30 in the afternoon when the appointment was. Wayne walks in. Wayne's got a background in psychology. He sits down at the other side of the desk from this person, and he can tell that this publisher person has had a terrible day. It looked like his world was about to end. And Wayne shifted gears. Now, he had a copy, and this was a long time ago, so he had a physical copy of his manuscript in his briefcase.
Right.
But he spent so much time focusing on where this guy was that he said, you know what? The most important thing right now is this man in front of me and what he's dealing with, and I'm going to help him, which he did. He left that man's office and he went home, and his agent called him and said, how did the meeting go? And he explained what happened, and then he realized that he never even gave the publisher a copy of the manuscript. And yet, he could have looked at that and said, this is the end of the world, I'm never going to get published. But because he did the right thing, he published 41 books through his life. And I mentioned that because writing is really something that you really want to do. You want to get better at it. You want to practice. Writing articles for magazines is
Yes.
a great idea because it's a place to get you started. And then it's anywhere else you can write. And just develop a writing habit. Write about anything and everything. Journal. Write your, journal in your own journal, and do that every day if you can. And by the time you're done, you might actually have a book.
Oh, okay. We have a couple callers, so we can, I guess, they'll ask some questions. They'll start. Yep, we're going to get a call. Oh, Zena's on. Perfect. Okay.
Hi there. Hi there, Louise. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Zena. How are you?
Doing awesome. Glad to talk to you today.
Thanks
I'm
for
enjoying
calling.
learning a little bit about you. I'm glad that you opened up the floor today to take calls from the outside. I do have a couple questions for you. If there's time, if I can ask one at least, that would be great.
Please, absolutely.
And maybe either one of you could answer separately, but the big question is what has been the most challenging for you on this journey of writing and publishing your book?
Well, for me, like I've said it so many times. For me, I was my biggest person that I had to deal with. I was the biggest, I guess, impediment as far as the stories. Can I do this? It was really a matter of me believing in myself, and for me to say, I'm going to push through this and I'm going to do this, because I made up so many stories about I'm not a writer, I don't know if I can do this. And so for me, it was really changing my self-talk and saying, as soon as I realized I was having a voice in my head, that was showing up for me, and I really had to look at that and address it, and sometimes give it love, sometimes shut it up, sometimes, whatever. But I really had to deal with that voice in my head that said,
and how did you break through that?
I think it was a matter of addressing it and trying to see and really tap into my feelings and say, okay, this negative Nancy voice, let me give it a name. And I would say, Nancy, what do you need today? Do you need me to tell you to shut up, or do you need love? Like, really tune into my feelings and really tune into what was showing up for me. Because it's easy to say, oh, shut up, I don't want to hear that voice. But sometimes diving a little deeper and saying, okay, wait a minute. Do you need love? Do you need me to say it's going to be okay? Do you need me to say you can do this? Like, really try to figure out and address what is it that voice was trying to tell me. Does it need love? Does it need discipline? Does it need for me to say it's okay? Does it need forgiveness? I really believe that's what worked for me. What about
Great.
you, Lynn?
Thank you so much.
Of course.
And Lynn, how about you? What was the most challenging thing for you, and how did you break through?
So because I had already written a book prior to this one, my challenge was that I knew we couldn't make it absolutely airtight perfect. And so I knew exactly what Louise was going through. And so part of my challenge was being patient for her to work through what she needed to work through in order to feel like, okay, yes, I'm ready for the world to see the book.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then, is there anything that you wish you would have known before you started this journey that you can impart to other authors who are just, going down the path for the first time?
That's a really
something
good
that you
question.
That is a good question.
didn't know that you wish you would have known.
Yeah, it's
Good question.
really about believing in yourself. It's about believing in the purpose, the mission, and the message of your book. And it's really important that you have some kind of goal. Now, one of the things that really helped Louise and I was that before every meeting, we would, and even before every show,
Yeah.
before we do anything, we set an intention. And it's really just to clear the space of everything that's going to get in the way. And when we set the intention, then we get grounded, right? And then we're able to focus on what we need to do. We're still going to have fun with it, but we're going to be more focused on actually getting it done.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess.
see.
Yeah. I guess for me, what I wish I would have known is what a sense of accomplishment, And so if you can tap into that sense of accomplishment prior to publishing the book, I feel like that's going to help to allow you to access that, right?
Yeah,
Tapping into that sense of accomplishment prior.
Absolutely.
So that helps.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Zena,
Zena.
for calling in.
Appreciate it. Oh, okay,
well,
perfect.
keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, who do we have next? Joey. Hi. How are you, Joey?
Hello, hello.
Hi,
First time
Joey.
caller, long time.
Thanks for calling in. How are you?
My pleasure. I'm having a wonderful day watching the butterflies in the garden, and I was inspired to call in to talk about a book on inspiration that I've been mulling through. Talk to me about outlines. How do you suggest going about setting up an outline so that I've got building a tree for a book? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Kind of outline.
Sure. Do you have the title of the book? I'm just curious. You don't have to share it if you don't want to, though.
Not particularly. I mean, that's
Okay.
where I'm in discovery, but I think it's something along the lines of how to transform your life with radical decisions. I don't know, but
Okay.
I think it's all in the realm of possible.
Okay. Lynn, what do you suggest for outlines? I know how we did ours, but you're more experienced with that. What can you tell Joey for a good outline?
Well, first, hello, Joey, and thanks for calling. So what I would say in terms of an outline is remember that everything you do, you can change later. An outline is not like you're writing, your last will and testament that you need to go through a lawyer every time you want to make a change. It is there as a guide just to help you have direction, but you're still the one deciding the course that your book is taking. And even with a title, you could create a working title and end up with a title that has nothing to do with that working title. It's simply something that gives you something to build your thoughts around.
So what do you think would be like a format for an outline? Do you have a suggestion of maybe creating chapter titles and then maybe ideas? What do you think?
I would say, if it's a book about inspiration, then are there specific areas of inspiration that you'd like to write about? So, maybe you have the area of nature. Maybe you have the area of, working on maybe inspiration at work, maybe inspiration, in a hobby or anything, right? Because there's always going to be somebody out there who is going to benefit from your perspective on life. It starts as your life, but then it can be also a perspective on their life.
And also because I know how Joey is such a, he's done so many impactful things in his life to radically change it. I think a great outline would be even just breaking down experiences that you've had, like the hero's journey type of outline. What were your experiences that you had? Okay, what were your struggles, and then how did you overcome them? So maybe break it down into like 3 different sections. Start out with those 3 different outlines, and then from there, like Lynn said, you don't have to stick to that. You can change it and switch it up, but maybe like what you experienced, how you what decisions you made, and then how you overcame that. I think that might be a good way to start, because I know you have so much to share with the world, and I would love for you to do that, Joey.
And just start off with what inspires you.
Right.
And then let the rest of it take care of itself.
Good one. I like that.
That's a great note. Thank you very much, both. I appreciate you both being a service to writers and everybody who's looking to get their ideas codified and into the world. I appreciate you both.
Thank you so much, Joey. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Joey.
All right.
Keep shining your
Bye-bye.
light. Thank you. It's amazing because when he completes his book, it's going to be great because he's really had major shifts in his life. Just like he said, small steps, right? Choices and steps. So that was a good idea for an outline.
Well, yeah, and there's a writing, what would you call it? A writing style, a writing space for everyone.
Sure.
We have had the good fortune of coming in contact with a lot of people. Zaina Degaya, who we had on a few months ago, she works with people, and their book's going to be about 20,000 words.
Right.
But the typical book that you think about is 40 to 50,000 words, and some go up over 100,000.
Wow.
But you don't have to start at 100,000. You can start at 20,000. Maybe you write a magazine article about a topic that really interests you. Maybe you share a story about yourself, and then that becomes the foundation.
Right.
For building on that, doing research, understanding yourself at a deeper level, and being able to then build a house on that foundation, and that house becomes your book.
Right. Like cultivate it like anything else. Like if you never really cooked before and you want to cook this amazing meal, maybe you got to start out making smaller, ones and build up to that, right? It's kind of what how I'm interpreting it, right?
Well,
it doesn't have to be that big thing all at once, right?
Well, it creates confidence, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Start small,
True.
do something that supports your having confidence. And then as you become more confident, then you can go to the next level and build up to the next thing and go from there.
And that's kind of like touching back on that first question that we had, from Freddie when he was asking about, what do these kids do and they want to write. Well, like you said, build the confidence. Start with something small, do an op-ed or do a small article on something because it doesn't have to be that big, overwhelming feeling like, oh my God, I have to write this book, right? No, just start out small. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've never really shared, and with the students, with many of them in journalism,
Right.
my actual first writing experience was as a journalist in
Nice.
college.
Oh, yeah.
I was the sports reporter for the college newspaper.
Right.
And I traveled with the wrestling team for a season. And that's how I got interested in college wrestling.
Okay.
But that was actually my very first assignment,
right.
right? And I started out as a journalist, and now we're writing about past lives. So I don't know how it goes, but everything can be a place to build from and build to and build on.
Right. And even if you're in the very, very beginning stages, I know what really worked for me too was like journal prompting. Just like have a journal, get into the habit of saying, okay, I'm going to create some journal prompts, and then every morning or every night, whenever you feel like it, you start just free flow. Just free flow. You don't have to think. How many people that we know that free flowed that ended up creating a book from their journal or from their poems or from their work. So just free flow and care more about the, not so much maybe the quality of what is this going to look like in a book, but care more about, am I really genuinely and authentically getting my feelings out in the journal? I think that's going to be good.
Yeah, that's really, really important. To be able to do that and to really get those thoughts out on paper.
Right.
And then I think another aspect of this is to learn to ask good questions.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
True.
Learn to ask the questions that everybody else thinks they know the answer to.
Very important.
Right? Because we stop asking questions because we think we know.
No, you're right.
Right?
Absolutely.
But do we really know?
You're right.
Right? Because even like, in interpersonal relationships, right?
Right.
Everybody changes every day. And so
True.
you think you know that person because of the X number of days that came before. But today's a brand new day, and guess what? You don't know that person.
That's right.
And part of the fun is getting to know that person. That's why, I wouldn't say I'm amused, but it always puzzles me when people, rush out to find the next person because the one they're with now didn't turn out to be,
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
I hear you.
if you're paying attention, we're all different every day,
That's right.
right? So, and we can all learn from that.
Oh, yeah. Well, this was fun today. I enjoyed, conversating about the journey and helping others along the way, to find their way.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you wanted to ask a question today and you weren't able to do it, we invite you to, send us email us a question here at the studio or something like that.
Call in
Now,
another time.
Next week,
Yeah.
we are going back to kind of like our regularly scheduled programming.
Yep.
Author Heidi Hess will be our guest. And Heidi is not only an author, but she also is the person behind the Read It, Write It book
Yep.
and writing festival
Yeah.
in Wellington that we participated in this year. So you won't want to miss that. And we're lining up some absolutely fantastic guests for you. And we're looking forward to seeing you once again next week.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week. Have a great night. Take care.
Imagine rediscovering a past life.
Now imagine finding the person you shared it with.
And I just told all my friends, I'm like, you guys have to read this because I can't put it down. And I have not even gotten to the half of the book yet.
We are Lynn Everard and Louise Gomez, and we are the authors of the book, The Reuniting of Two Past Lives and the Unveiling of the 12 Sacred Lessons.
We invite you to purchase the book and discover the magic. Even if you have never written a book, you are still an author. In fact, we all are. In every moment, each of us is writing our own unique story that we call our lives. Because many of us are, as in the lyrics of the Dan Hill song, Sometimes When We Touch, writers still trapped within our truth. If this is you, why not start writing your thoughts in a journal? It will help you get your truth on paper and could just be the start of your own book. And don't forget to join us here every week for the next edition of The Editor's Desk.